First up is Angie Javier from Realtor.com. Angie does something that's a little unconventional when she speaks to an agent and that agent says that their business has slowed down. She actually looks them up online right there in front of the agent.
Even if I'm next to them, I'll say, well, let me pull you up right now online and kind of see where you are. You say your leads aren't calling you back. You say that, your sphere isn't calling you back. Let me just look you up online right now. 98% of the time, Christine, I cannot find them online. If I can't find you online and you're trying to do an open house this weekend and you're trying to work with buyers, guess what? Yeah. They've seen 10 other agents. You better believe they're taking all those business cards back home and they're looking you up online. They're looking up on social media. And if they can't find you, your card is gone. Next, I'm going to look for your website. How many websites do you have out there? Why do you have a website that has a green logo and another website that has a red logo? Then I'll lead them to resources on how they can get a website. And then we go through social media. Let me see. Are you on Facebook at least? So I say, okay, so I want you to get your profile up to date. And then I want you to reach out to me in 2 weeks. Let's take a look at it again.
In this next clip, Google expert Tasia Custodi says most agents leave the easiest win on the table. Here's the tool you can't ignore.
The Google Workspace ecosystem is like your Google suite of apps, Gmail, Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides. It all works together in harmony. The difference between that and Drive is one product. I think of it like a garage where you house all of your cars. So Drive houses Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms. I don't want to get people confused because if they Google Workspace, they're going to get a couple different things come up. And a lot of people are going to wonder, well, is it free? Is it not? I would say it's worth it to pay for a pro version of Google Workspace, just so that you can access these extra, like say Gemini AI powered goodness. It's basically like housing a lot of the different Google products. That's your workspace.
Next up, SEO expert Emily Gertenbach says this is one thing only you can do to stay searchable.
So GEO, which you'll sometimes also hear people say AEO, like answer engine optimization, but generally people say GEO. That is a term that has come up because people in marketing and in the SEO industry were like, okay, well, this is a shift, right? It's something different. People try things and they'll work at first and they get very excited and might treat it as the gospel and say, this is now what we have to do for GEO. Google itself published an update to its guidelines that it maintains about how search works. They essentially said GEO isn't really a thing. Over the past 18 months, a lot of people realized that if you very clearly state a question and you answer it on your website, that can be picked up. That snippet can be picked up by Chat, GPT, OpenAI, Claude, etc. And that's true. All you really needed to do all along, put the question like as a subtitle in an article and then answer it. When you put content online, for it to work for regular search engines or for AI search engines, it can't be content that can be easily produced by a generative AI tool. What's really important is to create content yourself and then add your first person expertise to it. EEAT. EEAT. It stands for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Being found is one thing. Being chosen is another. Brand strategist Scott Coligan thinks the reason so many agents blend in is much simpler than we'd like to admit.
Always try to get them to understand that distinction is something that you can intentionally create. You don't have to wait for your consumer or your customer to tell you how you're different. It is your job to understand where there is an unmet need or where there is a gap in the market or where there is an opportunity to bring to value to life that is different, and then make that happen. Always encourage brands to look outside of their category. For a real estate agent, like look at hospitality, look at concierge medical services, look at interior design, look at bereavement services, look at anywhere where someone wants to feel cared for and advocated for, understand, okay, what are brands in these other spaces doing to try and bring that feeling to life, and what is maybe missing in the real estate world. If all you do is look at what other real estate agents are doing, you're not going to come up with anything that is distinct or powerful or differentiated. You've got to open up your world to more sources of inspiration.
Marc Davison and I do not agree about personal branding. In fact, we spent an entire episode talking about it, but he is right about one thing. Take a listen to what that is.
It's a manufactured concept. Back in the 1970s and 1980s. But agents were part-timers. It wasn't a career. And you worked for a broker. Deborah was a salesperson. She sold real estate. The broker, their job was to promote Deborah. Since Deborah didn't really have anything, then the only way to really promote Deborah was Deborah wore red hats. Deborah has a dog. Deborah does this, Deborah does that, sell her personality. Because everybody has a personality. In the 1990s, these knuckleheads, Hobbs and Herder, began to take that thing that every agent wanted, which is like put me holding my phone, posing with my dog, and they called it personal branding. And that's where it happened. And so now all the Deborahs in real estate who had nothing else but their Pepsi and Smile and their puppy could have these little personal brands. Today, every realtor you know and every realtor I know have a book of business. They have listings, they have clients, they have reviews, they have everything that you can possibly ever want to build a brand and to stay stuck in the, look, this is me on my phone, personal brand stuff, building it around your person. You don't need to build it around yourself. Build it around all the things that you created and make it a brand.
And the last piece is trust. And trust isn't only built in front of your clients, it's also built behind the scenes and in the culture of your teams and your organization. Happiness expert Valerie Alexander shared with us a simple framework that we can implement immediately.
But if you're looking around at your life and you're thinking, why am I not happier? I have what I need. I have what I want. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs. My basic needs are met. Why do I not have happiness on a daily basis? The higher you can raise your happiness baseline, the happier you are just as a generalist, like I said, as a baseline, but also the faster you get back to that happiness. There are 3 things that make people love their jobs: their sense of accomplishment, autonomy, and acknowledgement. People fall into one of 2 categories. Either they're just naturally great managers. And if someone else is not a naturally great manager, they need training. And your naturally great manager didn't get training, so they don't see why training is necessary. The flip side is people who are not naturally great managers and they have never gotten any training and they think they're fine. So it's very hard to have a leader understand it is the soft skills of management that need to be trained.
And the last one is a little closer to home. That is my conversation with my co-founders at beekeeperai.com. That is that our promise is we will provide accurate, easy expense assistance to our clients through human verification. That human verification is what builds trust, and that is our non-negotiable.
That was it in a nutshell. It's just trying to solve a problem that isn't being solved well today. And if we can make it even a little bit enjoyable and make it feel like they have a real human support, which is something that's lacking today, then even better. Even if it's 15 minutes of time to get somebody on the right track and using the product in the way that it was intended, that's 15 minutes that will then help ensure that you have a customer for the next 12 months.